What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Hero of the Week. This week's Hero of the Week is none other than Vincent Valentine. Vincent is one of the main characters in Final Fantasy VII lore. However, in the main game, he was actually only an optional playable character that you do have to solve a riddle before you can recruit him. He did, however, get his own game called the Dirge of Cerberus Final Fantasy VII. Vincent wields a handgun in battle and sometimes shotguns as well. And his limit break in the main game allows him to shapeshift as a result of experiments by Professor Hojo. Basically, his stats will increase and he gains new powerful attacks, but becomes uncontrollable. In the FFVII, he is described as a dark and brooding character who broods over his past experiences and conceals many secrets. He speaks in a cryptic manner when he talks about his past, calling his traumas sins. Despite his cold personality, he is not uncaring at a point where Cloud admits he thought Vincent does not care about the planet. Vincent states that this is just how he is and apologizes for the false impression. So now that we know a little bit something about Vincent, let's take a look at his weapons and armors. The first one is his 4-star weapon Quicksilver, which gives him a max brave of 110. And obviously if you limit break it, you'll get that as a passive. The next one is the short barrel, which gives him the affinity ability Monster Empowered, which increases the potency of Deadly Beast Flare and increases the potency of Initial Brave Down and extends its duration. This is actually a pretty good weapon for Vincent. Now his final weapon is called the Dark Shout, which gives you the affinity ability Unleash Thunder, increases the potency of Live Wire Shot and lowers its action delay, increases the potency of Attack Down and extends its duration, increases the potency of Max Brave Off and extends its duration, extends the duration of the Thunder Enchantment, and turns Brave Attack to Brave Attack Plus while Thunder Enchantment is up and lowers its action delay. And now let's take a look at his two armors. The first one is called the Crimson Bandana, which gives you initial brave of 110. The next one is his 5-star armor, which is Vincent's Mantle, gives you the affinity ability Will of Destruction and Power, which gives him a max brave of 220 and an attack of 72. Alright, so we know his weapons and armors now, so let's start with his active and passive abilities. We'll start off with the active abilities, and his first one is called the Deadly Beast Flare. Now the Deadly Beast Flare basically is a fire range brave attack, which he gets a fire enchantment first off, and his target will have a int brave down 2 and a fire resist down. His second one is called Live Wire Shot, which is a thunder range brave attack, which his target will get a 1-turn attack down 2 and a thunder resist down as well. For himself, he will get 4 turns of max brave up 1 and thunder enchant as well. Now if you have Dark Shout's passive, he will have access to Brave Attack Plus. Basically, this will be a ranged brave attack with high turn rate, lasts for 6 turns after using Live Wire Shot. And the condition is basically having the Dark Shout's passive like I said earlier and using Live Wire Shot. Okay, so now let's take a look at his passive abilities. As always, I will just list down the first to the 50th passive ability basically that he will have. So first up is his Break Speed up, then he gets the Deadly Beast Flare power up, Deadly Beast Flare Charge, Live Wire Shot Power Up, Bonus Up All, Live Wire Shot Charge, Debuff Attack Up, critical brave gain, Turks of Turks. So now let's take a look at the Crystal Strength past Crystal Strength 50. First up at Crystal Strength 54 is Start Speed Up, which slightly raises speed for 3 turns when the battle starts. This is actually a pretty good ability or passive for Vincent since his speed isn't exactly the greatest. Next up is Deadly Beast Flare Extend, which turns Deadly Beast Flare into an AoE. Slightly raises the potency of initial Brave down, extends the duration of Fire Enchantment by 4 turns. This has a lower action delay and triggers a single target HP attack after the Brave hits. Next one is the Debuff Attack and Boost Up, which moderately raises his max Brave and attack while an enemy is debuffed. And finally, at Crystal Strength 60, we have Live Wire Shot Extend, which increases the max uses of Live Wire Shot by 2 and turns it into an AoE, slightly improves the max Brave up, and triggers a single target HP attack after the Brave hits. Alright, so now that we know all of his passive abilities and future passive abilities, let's take a look at his artifact passives and what you want from these artifact passives. First off, we have the Brave Initiative, which raises his speed by 5% when his Brave is over 50% of his max Brave. Next up is Brave Up, which raises his max Brave by 5% for 1 turn after breaking an enemy. And the last two is basically Mighty Deadly Beast Flare and the Mighty Live Wire Shot, which both gives an extra 10% Brave damage on these respective abilities. Now, I only talked about these 2-star here, so just a quick note on that, but you guys can see that it is a lot less if it's only a 1-star. The other ones that you probably will want is obviously the Attack Plus. Other than that, adding more Brave isn't exactly the greatest at this point. However, at level 60, when he's using AoE attacks, it's probably worth having some max Brave on your artifact passives. Although at the moment in the global, it's probably not worth it that much. So we're finally here at the last section, which I told you guys that I would be changing in my last video. So this is where I talk about the synergies and my final thoughts on the character, and give you guys a little bit of tips here and there as well if there is time for it. But let's take a closer look at Vincent as a character. Well, Vincent is actually a debuffer character rather than a DPS. Although I say that, his attack is actually quite decent and his defenses are decent as well. His biggest stat is his max Brave, which means he will do a lot of HP damage if you do manage to max it out. His lowest stat is his initial Brave, and second to that is going to be his HP and his speed. Now, even though that his speed is pretty low, we know that in the future that he will get the Start Speed Up, which basically will raise his speed for 3 turns when the battle starts, which is pretty good in his case because now you can sort of get like that initial debuff up for your party members. And like I said earlier, with the addition of the Deadly Beast Flare Extend and Live Wire Shot Extend, his max Brave is something that you probably want to put a bit of effort in, especially for his artifact passives. That is if you are thinking about the future. As of right now, it's probably worth just going for the Attack Plus. Not that the Attack Plus is going to be irrelevant, but because of his abilities turning into AoE, you'll probably do a lot more Brave damage in groups. However, if you are thinking of just single target based attacks, then the Attack Plus is obviously a much better choice. As for the tips, then obviously use your abilities depending on your party members. If you have lightning in your team, it's probably worth using live wire shots straight away so they can take advantage of the elemental down weakness. And obviously if you have someone like Papalymo, then use Deadly Beast Flare so they can use their Astral Fire ability. So that's just the main tip that I got for you guys. And as for the summon, probably you're gonna have to use Ifrit. It's probably the best choice right now, seeing that it does give you that 20% extra attack. So my final thoughts on Vincent, he's actually a very good character. I actually main him as one of my characters, my 3 mains anyway. I really like his ability to debuff, and not that there are others that aren't any better than him. I just like the extra, elemental weakness, and it boosts my lightning spark strike ability. So if you are planning to max out Vincent, it's probably worth thinking about your party composition first. Not that Vincent won't do well in other level 70 co-ops, but if you're planning to solo stuff, it's probably worth to think about it first before you max out Vincent. But if you're just gonna take him to co-ops, then by all means max him out, because he's gonna be helpful in any situation. And plus, his attack is actually quite decent for someone who is a debuffer as well. So yeah, I think that's it for this video, guys. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I'd like to hear from you guys what you think of Vincent, and who do you want me to feature next week. Leave a comment down below and I'll have a look who wants who. Also follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.